Okay, everybody, pay attention because this is gonna go by fast. This right here is Marshall D. Teach, Blackbeard. This is his crew, the Blackbeard Pirates. These are the Yonko, of which he is part of, and this is a cute, adorable kitten that serves no function in this video whatsoever, hashtag not a furry. So, Blackbeard himself is interesting man, to say the least. Sometimes he gives off the air that he is a brilliant tactician, a master schemer, dozens, if not hundreds of steps in front of everybody else. He planned everything perfectly at Marineford, infiltrating the Warlords, getting into Impel Down, freeing all the level 6 prisoners right at the same time there was a massive riot going on, getting into Marineford right when Whitebeard just took all these hits and was at death's door, finishing him off, stealing his fruit, and getting away scot-free. That was genius. Other times, though, he gives off the air of a complete simpleton that you wonder how he is still alive. Like walking directly in front of Magellan when he was sending out his poison death dragon, or just chatting it up with Ace and getting a firefish right in the face. You know, like, so he's a little bit of a kind of, actually, I'll be honest with you, that has led to the theories that he actually has, like, split personalities and things, or maybe not split personalities exactly, but there's a lot of people that want to go with that Cerberus theory, that he has the ancient, or no, the mythical zone Cerberus, which allows him to have like 3 different devil fruit powers, and this is why sometimes he does things that are like really brilliant, and other times he just gets ahead of himself. I don't really think that's the case. I think it's really has something more to do with the will of D and the D clan in general, okay? Because there's a lot of parallels that you can make between Blackbeard and Luffy, like a bunch of them. They're both pirates, they're both striving to become king of the pirates and finding the One Piece. They both believe in men's dreams, and they're both bearers of the will of D, you know, so those are things that really line up. Now, not to say they're the same, of course, they have plenty of differences. Probably the most notable one is that Luffy is more interested in kind of just having a fun adventure in order to get to his final goal. Blackbeard is more interested in seemingly gathering as much power as possible and possibly, like, ruling the entire world. It's kind of vague. We know Blackbeard is obsessed with power, most definitely, getting all of the devil fruits, becoming king of the pirates, because that's somebody that has a lot of power. But as for Blackbeard's, like, ultimate final goal, if he's aiming to just drown the entire world in darkness, you know, collapsing the world government and the Marines, and then just ruling over everything, I mean, that's kind of really a little bit ambiguous. It's possible that Blackbeard himself doesn't even know what he really wants at the end of the day, although, you never know with him. He's erratic. That's the thing that makes him such an interesting character. You don't really know what he's going to do next. And sometimes you think, oh man, Blackbeard's here, we're totally screwed, and then they manage to get away from him no problem. Other times he shows up and he just gets a one-up on everybody and, you know, gets all this power, and basically he becomes like the one winner out of this bad situation, like at Marineford, you know? Who's gonna win, the Whitebeard crew or the Marines? Well, the Marines technically won, and the Whitebeard crew definitely lost, but at the end of the day, you know, Blackbeard kind of made fools out of both parties, you know? So it's very erratic with him. So I wanted to talk about what his, you know, plan is at the moment. You know, maybe not talking about so much in like the ultimate end game of what he's aiming for, but what Blackbeard's plan has been, what he's been ruminating on ever since the time skip. You know, he's been hanging out, he's been gathering more power, certainly. We saw that with his fleets. He's got his 10 Titanic captains, one of which is completely unknown, could be Aokiji. Somebody on a video I made yesterday commented, he's like, wait a second, they're the 10 Titanic captains, and the Titanic was sunk by an iceberg, and Aokiji is allying himself with the Blackbeard crew right now. So, I don't know about that, but I'm gonna put that off to the side maybe for another video, because that is an interesting way of looking at it. But yeah, he's got his pirate crew. He's, Beehive Island is apparently his home base, where he's got all these, like, awesome, sexy pirate girls just fawning all over him. So it seems like he's got the life, right? So he's definitely planning something, though, gathering devil fruit abilities. Like, what is going to be his next step? Because not for the entirety of the first part of One Piece, because Blackbeard didn't show up until Jaya, but, you know, ever since he did appear at Jaya, we've been kind of cutting back to him to really see what he's been up to, and it really was building on this massive plan that he had, infiltrating the Warlords, gaining a spot there, and then basically leading to Marineford, where he got the powers of the Gura Gura no Mi. Now, he couldn't have planned everything the way it exactly went, because that would imply, like, you know, Blackbeard is as soon as he got the Yami Yami no Mi, he knew that Ace was going to chase after him, and he knew he could capture Ace and become a warlord, and he knew that Whitebeard was going to go and rescue Ace at the execution platform in this exact way. I don't think he's that much of a schemer in the sense that he was anticipating this kind of stuff, but it was like he was on Whitebeard's crew for over 20 years. And so unlike Luffy, whereas Luffy kind of just is more, well, Luffy's also erratic in a sense of just how he wants to get to his final goal. Luffy doesn't really, he's not one for plans, you know? Luffy does not sit down and be like, all right, so these are my like 100 steps I'm going to do to become the Pirate King. Luffy's not really about that. Luffy's just like setting out from Fuchsia Village, like, I'm gonna gather a crew, and we're gonna get into some crazy adventures, and we're gonna go to the Grand Line, and we're going to find the One Piece. That's Luffy's plan. Now, Blackbeard, on the other hand, is definitely more methodical and patient with how he plans things out, okay? So he was on Whitebeard's crew for like 20 years. I like to think as soon as he pretty much joined up, he had a good idea of what he was going to try to do. He wanted to become king of the pirates, okay? This was probably back when he was like 16, 17 years old, probably around the same age as Luffy, when he started his journey when Blackbeard teamed up with Whitebeard, okay? So he probably looked at this grand scope, you know, okay, where do I go from a nobody apprentice pirate on Whitebeard's ship all the way up to King of the Pirates? And he probably looked at it in like phases, you know? He's like, one of those is like, all right, well, I'm definitely going to have to become a Yonko at some point. You know, I'm going to have to become this really feared and revered pirate in the entire world. He's like, all right, well, that's already, it's not quite as hard as attaining the One Piece, this kind of phantom thing, but it's still ridiculously hard to become a Yonko. Okay, so what do I need to become a Yonko? And he's like, well, in order to become a Yonko, I need to do something so outrageous that the world cannot help but fear me. Like the general population at large has to know the name Marshall D. Teach, Blackbeard. And in order to do that, I'm sure a bunch of ideas came around in his head, like I could eliminate a previous Yonko, probably tabled that and set that aside, or I could just do some huge event involving the Marines or the world government so they would know who I was, right? And so I imagine he's just sitting on these ideas for years, and it all kind of just back-built to the Yami Yami no Mi. He's like, all right, well, in order to achieve any of that, in order to become a Yonko, in order to make the world fearful of me, in order for my name to even be well known, I need to have some sort of power, a power greater than any others. And then I could see Blackbeard, you know, in Whitebeard's crew, researching all the devil fruits in the encyclopedia, and he finds the Yami Yami no Mi, and he's like, that one. Right there, the Yami Yami no Mi. That is the one I need in order to take over the world. And so from there on out, it was just a waiting game. It was just sitting on his hands, just not doing much anything, waiting to get his hands on the Yami Yami no Mi. And then when he finally managed it, when Thatch found it and he killed Thatch and took the fruit, that's when this like 20-year plan that he, you know, had like, you know, okay, now it's time to get going. I'm going to gather my own crew, and then I'm going to start. I have to figure out some way to work my way up the ladder from there. And so maybe not planning things like step for step perfectly, but very good at improvisation. You know, he's just like, okay, he's out there in the world, he's got his initial crew like Burgess and Augur and everybody, and then he hears about Crocodile being defeated at Alabasta. You know the gears were turning immediately at that point where Blackbeard's like, all right, Crocodile's defeated. Ooh, that gives me an idea. If I can worm my way into the Warlords, that would give me like a back door into the world government in a way, or the Marines at the very least, you know, so that's definitely useful. And so with a combination of, you know, Lafitte's introduction, so he kind of went to he went to Marijois, which is also a very difficult thing to accomplish on Lafitte's part. He can fly, but still really weird. He gets in there and he presents, you know, Blackbeard's name for consideration, so they didn't even hear about him at that point, but now they know at least his name. And then he ran into Ace, and remember, by the way, when Blackbeard and Ace fought at Bonero Island, Blackbeard was actually going to go to Water 7 before that and get Luffy's head to bring back to the world government to consider for warlord status. So, you know, maybe not in the exact same way, but it ended up working out in anyway. You know, Blackbeard was thinking, oh, I know how to get the world government to take me seriously. I'll go and capture Straw Hat Luffy, the guy that just obliterated Enies Lobby. I'll drag his carcass in front of the world government. Then they'll definitely make me a warlord. But then Ace showed up and he was like, well, Fire Fist Ace, 2nd Division Commander of the Whitebeard crew, I could also haul his carcass in, and it would probably result in the same exact thing, So that's what he ended up doing. So yeah, like I said, he wasn't exactly smart with how he started off that fight, like kind of just shooting it up with Ace. I think he actually asked him like, hey Ace, you want to join my crew at one point? So yeah, that's not going to end well. He got a Hiken in the freaking cranium, but he ended up winning, and he ended up becoming a warlord. And then from that point onward, I think he had a general idea of where the track of fate was going to head. He's just like, okay, so now that I'm a part of the warlords, Whitebeard is definitely going to go and try to rescue Ace at Marineford, and that's where I might have to, that's where I'm going to make my big play. I'm going to have a little side trip to Impel Down, rescue everybody, then go to Marineford, and that's where he has everything planned out, all right? And he achieved, like, his first big hurdle, become a Yonko, become one of the emperors of the sea. Now that he has that, what do you think his next goal is going to be? Do you think he's going to jump right to the One Piece? No. You know what he's going to do? He's going to try to wipe out the other Yonko. I was thinking about that the other day, and I'm thinking, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. So not only now is he kind of part of it, but he's going to kind of eliminate his competition. Because the only other pirates in the world that are most likely going to be even contenders to get the One Piece are the other Yonko, right? Big Mom has a road Poneglyph. Kaido has a road Poneglyph. Shanks, used to be on Roger's crew, so there's a connection there. So those are kind of like, all right, I kind of made it into the big leagues, but now I got competition. All right? So what I think he's been doing is once again just, all right, now how do I take out a Yonko crew? Well, that's definitely not going to be easy. In fact, that's going to be way harder than pretty much anything else I've done up until this point. That's going to be pretty hard to do. So that's why he's just started amassing as much power as possible, getting his fleets up and running, stealing as many devil fruit powers as possible, probably as a hard counter to Kaido's crew, because Blackbeard is aware that, Kaido has the beast pirates and they all have artificial zones. So he's like, oh man, well, I'm going to have to amass a lot of devil fruit powers in order if I'm like maybe going to go up against them. See, Blackbeard does not know how it's going to play out when he became a Yonko, but he had it in his head like, I might have to very well face off against the full force of the Big Mom crew or the full force of the Beast Pirate crew, possibly both, at some point in the future, so I need to really prepare here, right? That's the reason, like, Blackbeard has been, making waves in the New World. It's not like he hasn't been doing anything, but he hasn't really, outside of the Payback War, he really hasn't done anything huge. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like he's making an attack on other marine bases or trying to take down Marijois or making an attack on Reverie or anything. No, it's just like, yeah, he's a Yonko doing the things that you would expect a Yonko to do, right? I think it's just like, no, I'm just going to wait until I feel comfortable enough and I'm going to do this. But just like with Ace, unexpected things happen and they change the course. Or rather, he's very good at waiting for the chance of opportunity. He's just like, all right, I'm going to gain as much power as possible and I'm going to wait for Lady Luck, for fate, to show its hand. And I'll know it when I know it, and because I'm really good at sensing that kind of stuff. And then when that happens, I'm making my move all of a sudden, okay? That move is now, because Totland is in a state of ruin. Luffy and the Straw Hats and the Heart Pirates and everybody are at Wano right now dealing with Kaido's forces. Those are two Yonko that are so preoccupied right now with one pirate. That kind of leaves some wiggle room right now for Blackbeard. And don't think for a second he hasn't realized that. He has a spy in Wano. We don't know who it is. We don't know how it works. Could have been Devon. Devon could have went to Wano, disguised herself, and then came back and reported to Blackbeard, because when we see Blackbeard post-time skip, when he's on the Beehive Island, it's with Moria, Devon was there at the time, but, she could have always went back and forth between Wano. She has a devil fruit. She could be anybody with the mythical Ninetales zone, right? So, with that being the situation at hand here, I'm pretty sure, like, he's gonna be it's gonna be a repeat of Marineford, where you have two people fighting and it's like, who's gonna win? And it's like, oh, neither. Blackbeard's gonna win. I could see the Straw Hats, coming out of Wano, this isolated nation, and been like, all right, what's gonna happen next? And we find out that, oh yeah, while Big Mom was busy with her forces in Wano, Blackbeard attacked Totland, and I think that is, I'm to the point where I'm like 100% sure that's gonna go down. All right, because I look at this and I'm like, I cannot see another way that this could go. You know, Totland is in ruins after, you know, the cake rampage of 2017, you know, and all these islands are wrecked, and Big Mom herself is gone, and Smoothie and a lot of her, you know, fighting forces are gone. I mean, Katakuri might still be there, Cracker might still be there, but, you know, faced with the entire threat of the Blackbeard fleet, even if Blackbeard himself wasn't there with them, they would get decimated. I mean, Katakuri's strong, but he's still recovering from his fight with Luffy, probably. Plus, you got, and by the way, there was a really awesome fan manga made about this. Like, they looked into it, like, actually what it would be like if the Blackbeard crew just invaded Totland. And it was an amazing fan comic. I'll leave a link below. But, like, that could totally happen. Maybe not on screen the same way it does in that fan manga, which is fantastic, but even if it's just like we're leaving Wano and we get the the obligatory chapter where all the newspapers are all over the world, and, you know, Luffy and the other Straw Hats, they were in Wano for the last few weeks. They didn't really get to see what's going on in the rest of the world. They get the newspaper and they open it up, like, first page, it's like, oh yeah, Totland is now controlled by Blackbeard, and we cut over to Totland and we see Blackbeard's flag flying above Whole Cake Island or something, and so that's one Yonko territory, and that's kind of one Yonko just kind of taken care of right there, right? Because, like I said, going back to Katakuri and everybody, they're strong, but, you know, you get Vasco shot, you get Shiryu, you get Sanwan Wolf. I mean, like, Katakuri, Cracker, and all of the forces of Totland, all the chess soldiers and everything, they're not going to be able to hold that off. They're not going to be able to hold the line. So that's step one. That's going to be taken down. And I was going to throw out the idea that Blackbeard might very well go to Wano to try to steal Kaido's dragon fruit. But looking back on it now, looking at this in another perspective, he doesn't even need to do that. He doesn't, because he, you know, Luffy kind of already took care of Totland for him, kind of laid that out on a silver platter for him, and I'm pretty sure Kaido is going to be eliminated by the end of Wano, because what would be the point otherwise? You know, they're gonna kill Kaido. I hope they do anyway. I mean, otherwise, like, you could do maybe some other things to try to just incapacitate him or render him useless to fight, but that seems way more unlikely, you know? So, okay, let's just say they get rid of Kaido at Wano. That's another Yonko taken care of, and that would be a perfect way to segue into, like, the climax of One Piece. Because I do not know how Oda is going to plan the arcs after Wano, because Wano has been such a buildup for so long. Like, the ultimate goal of One Piece, pretty much since they got to the New World, has been Wano. Like, since Punk Hazard and Dressrosa and Zoe, it's all, and Totland also kind of a little bit, it's all been leading to this. It's all been leading to Wano. So what's after Wano? Well, the way that Oda and his editors are at least talking about it, it's just like One Piece is nearing, like, you know, the 80 or so % completed mark. And so after Wano, which is, I'm sure, going to be an incredibly long arc, we might very well start to get into the final, you know, parts, the final arcs of One Piece. Not to say, like, right after Wano, they're going to go to Raftel, not saying that, but things might seriously get amped up to the point where it's like, we can tell we're getting to the final part here, where everybody's kind of mobilizing, and the Marines are moving, and the Warlords are moving, and if right after Wano, we have Blackbeard basically announcing, like, Zay-ha-ha-ha! I've taken over Totland. Kaido and his crew have been annihilated. It's now my era. You know, something like that. Now, we still have Shanks. This ties in back to Reverie, where Shanks arrived to talk to the Gorosei about a certain pirate, which I'm most certain is going to be Blackbeard, okay? I think Shanks went to go talk to them about it, and just like, listen guys, I know we don't like each other, but we need to work together. I'm telling you, Blackbeard, he's gonna do stuff, he's gonna pull a fast one again, like he did at Marineford, where no one's gonna see it coming, and then you guys are gonna be kind of up against the wall. So I'm thinking you guys should really, like, deal with him, like, and so I'm thinking that's what Shanks was trying to tell him. Maybe Shanks was talking about maybe an alliance between his crew and the government, kind of just like, listen, we hate each other, but let's just take care of this guy, and then we could go back to hating each other. But Shanks is an intelligent guy. He knows the world government, probably not even on their worst possible day, are going to ally with a Yonko. And I'm also going to think that the government isn't going to listen to him. I think the government's just going to kind of like, all right, we'll consider your plan. And then Shanks leaves, and the Gorosei kind of look at each other, or maybe they go and convene with Im-sama, and Im is just like, no, we're not allying with him, we're not dealing with him at all. Or considering Im kind of tore up Blackbeard and Luffy's, wanted posters because, they're both the Will of D, and the Will of D is like the enemy of the world government, perhaps Im would be cool with that. Like, oh yes, we do need to eliminate Blackbeard, right? So, after Wano, Blackbeard, it's kind of his rise to power, it's his moment, and that might be like the sign that we are nearing like the climax when Blackbeard makes his declaration to the world in some grand way. Like, he's like the only real Yonko that has power now. Is like, I'm going to eliminate Shanks next, and I'll be the only one. And then the Marines get moving, and the Straw Hats get moving, and everyone's kind of like racing to not only defeat Blackbeard, but also kind of get to Raftel and get to the One Piece. Also, if Blackbeard went to Totland, he could have just straight up stole the other road poneglyph that Big Mom had. If he does infiltrate Wano, he could get his hands on Kaido's road poneglyph as well, because the Straw Hats are just going to probably get a rubbing of it if they can. They really can't steal the entire thing. I think Blackbeard has the resources, especially San Juan Wolf. I mean, San Juan Wolf could just pick up the road poneglyph and put it in his breast pocket, and just like, he's like, oh, check it out, guys, I got me a fancy red cube. All right, let's go. There you go. I mean, you don't even need a proper, like, winch or anything to get it on the ship at that point, right? So, yeah, with that situation in hand here, he gets his hands on the road poneglyphs. Maybe Blackbeard found the last one this whole time. Maybe while he was on Whitebeard's crew, he found the location of it. Remember back when Roger was having that sake with Whitebeard at that island that was unidentified, but it's totally Wano? Because with all the cherry blossoms and the waterfall in the background and everything, it's just like, yeah, it was totally Wano. Roger, he's like, would you like to know how to get to Raftel, Whitebeard? And Whitebeard's like, nah, I don't have any interest in that place. He might have still learned about the location of the road poneglyph or something. Maybe Roger would have been like, well, in case you're ever curious, the last road poneglyph, the last key is located here. And Whitebeard's like, whatever. Maybe Blackbeard heard about it. Maybe he learned about the location in some way, and so he has it, and just nobody else knows, but he does have it. And so he gets his hands on that. And it's like, okay, it's basically between Blackbeard and the Straw Hats, best chance of getting to the One Piece here, right? So yeah, I think that's his next plan. I'm thinking, like, right near the end of Wano. Maybe not necessarily, like, right at the very, very tail end of it, but right when it's getting to the climax between, like, the Fire Festival and going up against Kaido and all the headliners and all the All-Stars and everything, we might cut over and see, like, Devon or somebody infiltrating Wano on Blackbeard's behalf, and we might see, like, oh man, they're making a move while all this chaos, that's a Blackbeard move, it's just like, wait until everybody is distracted in a massive war, and then sneak in, and then after you get what you want, you announce to everybody, screwed both of you over, later, signing out, and then, getting away scot-free. That's kind of Blackbeard's thing. That's what he does, right? Hey, by the way, I hope at some point we get a backstory. We get like a whole flashback arc on, what made Blackbeard what he is now. This desire for power and everything. Because we saw him when he was a little kid. Oda drew him as a child, and he was just kind of like a child in poverty, which is not unique in the One Piece world. A lot of children are in poverty. And, he was just kind of crying, and the moon was in the background, and he's just like, sniffle. So, I mean, you could just say, like, oh, he was poor when he was a kid, that's why he desires all this power. But that might be kind of a cliche thing to go about it, and considering this is like the main antagonist of the entire series, I'm thinking Oda's going to give us something a little bit better than that. Maybe something that led to him being on the Whitebeard crew. Maybe when he first joined the Whitebeard crew, he wasn't as conniving as he was now, and then something happened, or it had to be something traumatic in his life beyond just being alone. There had to be something else to this, right? Because then again, I mean, there's a lot of parallels between Luffy and Blackbeard. I mean, if Luffy maybe was alone growing up and he did not have anybody, he didn't have Ace, he didn't have Dadan, he didn't have Sabo, he didn't have Garp, and he was just a lonely kid on an island, somewhere, how would Luffy have turned out? So yeah, I just wanted to throw out a video about that today. Everything with Kaido and right now, that was really good, but a great way to cap it all off was just be like, yeah, Big Mom, Kaido, yeah, they were threats. But then there's Blackbeard, and he played everybody. So I think that's the best. Now you might say that's repeating what happened at Marineford, but I think if it's like scaled up to the level where it's just like he fooled the entire world, then yeah, that would be even better. All right. Well, anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking signing out. Later.